This is my liquor cabinet, and this is a Michter Straight Rye. Why am I showing you this? Because today is a day of celebration, my friends. We passed the Earn2Trade $50,000 Gauntlet Challenge, and today we filled out our paperwork, and now we are funded traders. I'll tell you how I did it after the break. Smooth. Hello, my friends. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of how I passed this challenge a little bit later in the video. We're going to go over my final trade that got me funded. But first, I wanted to tell you sort of the journey I went on to get here. Anybody that's been following me for any period of time, you've probably seen my video about me blowing up my last funded account. It was with Earn2Trade. When I got funded with them, I wasn't happy with the details of withdrawing money and things like that. It seemed unnecessarily complicated. The rules were kind of confusing. I didn't really understand them. So this time I went with Earn2Trade. They've been absolutely fantastic to work with so far. I highly recommend them. And they've actually got a fantastic discount going on right now. I'm going to leave the code in the details below. I'll leave the link to the challenge as well. Basically, you get, I think it's like $150 for the challenge, except you get it for $90 per month instead, lifetime, as long as you're subscribed. Okay, you cancel that subscription, then of course that deal goes away. But when I started this challenge, I was up $500 fairly early on. I had to hit a $3,000 profit target. All right, so I was up $500, feeling good, and then COVID-19 hits and the whole market changes. Volatility goes nuts. Trading kind of goes out the window, right? So I spent like 2 to 3 days doing nothing, just watching the market, trying to figure out what in the world was going on. And then when I felt comfortable to dip my toes in the water, I take a trade in the ES, a trade that actually would have won. It would have worked out. Except when I took the trade, it executed 25 points away from my entry. 25 points, not ticks, 25 points. All right, now that's slippage from hell, except it wasn't actually slippage. Okay, so rhythmic paper trading is what runs these challenge demos, and their system simply could not keep up with the change in volatility. I guess it had never seen anything like this before, and it just couldn't handle it. And so it really wasn't my fault. So I contacted Earn2Trade and said, hey, what's the deal here? And they gave me a free reset, which I imagine doesn't happen very often. They're pretty strict with the rules, but this was very fair of them to do. Very appreciative of that. So I got a free reset, started my account over, and we just kind of went up and up and up from there until we got to about $2,700. So I'm $300 away from my $3,000 target. I'm excited. I was pretty sure, I was like, I'm gonna get it today. I'm gonna make a video on YouTube and celebrate. And then I lost $900 that day. Just straight up, just bad trade after bad trade, $900 down. Had to walk away to make sure I didn't break any rules of daily loss limits and things, which are actually good. Those daily loss limits actually learn, you'll find out that they actually help you learn how to become a better trader, so you can learn to walk away from your bad days. And then it only took me 3 to 4 days after that to make up for it and get funded. And that's where we're at this point. We filled out the paperwork, sent it in. I'm just waiting for the final word of when I can start trading live money. All right, so stick with me here, because I'm going to show you some of that paperwork, and then we'll get into the trades. All right, boys, so the first thing that we've got here is my Earn2Trade certificate of completion. All right, it's like we passed a course in high school, and then they give you this to take home and put on the refrigerator. Okay, so you can see the account size was $50,000, and it just says in recognition of passing this and blah, blah, blah. All right, now the more important part is the contract. All right, and what I love about this contract is how simple it is. Okay, so it's a $50,000 account, trailing drawdown of $2,000, daily loss limit of $1,100, profit split 80-20. I get 80, they get 20. And the rules are very simple. Only trade during approved times, follow the progression ladder, and the max position size. I'll go over that in a minute. And then after that, it's just basics. This is the main thing you got to pay attention to, the $105 per exchange fee. And again, it's cost so much because once you're working for one of these companies, they consider you a professional trader for the amount of time that we're trading for. In this case, it's Helios, which is the Earn2Trade funded provider. Okay. So that's a bit of a bummer because I definitely don't want to pay $315 a month to trade gold, oil, and the ES as I was doing. So I'm just going to focus straight up on oil, and hopefully that works out, because what I was doing before was just trying to pick the best setups between three, and then I would just choose like, hey, gold looks like it's setting up where I want it, or oil setting up great here, so I'm going to take it in oil. So that I feel like that was actually a benefit to my trading, but we're going to have to cut that out. So that's the basics there. As you can see, it's very short. There's not a lot of fine print. There's not a lot of trickery here. And there is another much longer file that's a bunch of legal stuff that you've got to sign. You know, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to go through all of that, but I read over it. It's easy enough to understand. There's no fine print, there's no hidden tape like I felt there was with One-Up-Trader. Anytime that you want to withdraw money, you can withdraw money. Of course, you have to make the money. You can't go in and draw out of this account out of your $2,000 account or whatever, your $50,000 account, before you've made some kind of profit. Okay, but there's no rules beyond that. I mean, if I make $1,000 in it and then I want to close it out and take that $1,000, they'll give me 80, they'll take 20, and then that's that. And that's the way I read it anyway. And that's the most straightforward contract I've seen of any of these companies. I've been funded with Top Step, One Up, and now Earn2Trade. Okay. So let's get into what these approved times, progression ladder, and max position size are. Let's get rid of that. Here's my dashboard. As you can see, you know, we've got the 53,022, so that was enough to get funded. The profit and loss, and then the percentage gain. I traded 24 trading days to get funded. Now, approved times. Now, this used to be a little more complicated. You'd have to trade around news. You weren't allowed to trade news, or it would cancel your account. You would actually lose your account. But they decided to make things easier. Again, another reason why I love Earn2Trade. And so now, approved times is simply you just, you know, when the market opens to when it closes. You can't hold positions overnight because we're day traders here. So basically you got to close out by 3:10, and then you can start trading again at 5 p.m. Central. These are both Central times. 3:10 Central, and then 5 p.m. Central is when you can start up again. Super easy to follow. So, you know, don't be a nut, and you're not going to break that rule. Now, the progression ladder is a little more complicated. Now, this is also the same thing as the max position size. So the progression ladder is also straightforward. Until you've had a profit of $1,500, you can't trade more than 2 contracts at a time. And then once you get more than $1,500, you can start trading 3 contracts. Now, there is a bit of fine print of that, is it includes open positions. And so if you've only made a profit of $1,500 and then you trade 3 contracts, and then you don't tick up immediately, you know, if it goes against you at all, then you dip below that $1,500. You're not allowed to have 3 contracts. You could lose your account at that point in time. So they recommend, you know, building up your account before you move to those 3 contracts. So even though it says $1,500, I'm guessing you would want minimum $2,000, probably more like $2,500 to $3,000 before you start moving up to 3 contracts. And then, well, that's for the $25,000 account. The $50,000 account, you can go from 2 to 4 to 6, and they've got the progression ladder right here, as you can see, pretty much the same thing. So that's it for rules. I mean, you gotta love that, okay? You gotta love that. Super simple on the rules. Now let's get into the fun stuff. Let's go into the trades. Now, I'm not going to show you the charts today because most of my trading, I do look at charts, but most of my trading is based on what's happening in Bookmap, okay? So I look at the charts for kind of the setup of where I want to play, but I take entries based on Bookmap. So we're going to pull up Bookmap here, and we're going to see if I can even spot why I did what I did. How about that? So I've got this marked down. My first trade took place at 837 in gold. 837. So let's go to 836. Let's get that loaded up in the gold and see what we were looking at the time. If you can bear with me while it loads a little bit here, guys. I think this will be kind of worth your time to see what I do in Bookmap and the way I trade. But in the meantime, we've still got some mictors, so let's have some of that. Come on, baby. Okay, so we're looking at the gold here, and then you'll see the trade pop in here. I recorded the live trade, so it'll show it to you when it pops in. But what you've got is all of this highlighted area is additional. It's just liquidity that's higher than other areas. So like the darker areas is lower liquidity, or just people waiting in the book, resting in the book, limit orders, basically is what we're talking about here. And my bias was long. We had these people sitting down here that were kind of backing up my bias, and so it was enough for me to put on risk. I like that term better than taking a trade. You just you find a place that's worth the risk, you put on risk, and then ride with it. All right, so that's kind of a new mindset that I've gone with, is you put on risk. So let's speed this up so you're not sitting here all day. So there you go. You can see that I'm in the trade now. This is my first target and my second target, and then this is my stop down here. We'll zoom in a little bit. And then these bubbles here are, I believe I've got this set at like a 1 minute time frame, but these are cumulative bubbles. So this blue is just showing you that there was more buys at the time than sells. The bigger the blue, the more the buyers were winning. The bigger the red, the more the sellers were winning. Okay, I like looking at it cumulatively because it's too hard to look at it with all the trades there. So I just want to see who's winning. I want to see who's winning. So we got in, this little triangle's where we got in, and it's kind of ticking up, and then we get that first target. I was being very conservative. I took my stop up to my entry for break even, and then immediately came back and got me. That doesn't look like much room in there because Bookmap's a little compact, but that was actually a 14 tick move. So we made $140 off that first target, and then of course the second target, nothing. And as you can see, you know, this big red bubble comes in, and then the market starts, you know, tracking back down. And that's what happened. So, you know, we can write that off as we got a little lucky. We entered a little late probably for that move, but it worked out in our favor. Now the next move is really the big one. The next one is in oil, and this takes place at 8:45, which we're already looks like that's already in the trade. So for oil, we had the same situation. Now, this is where things get a little bit tricky. As you can see, the majority of the people resting in the book are up here. Now, there's two ways that kind of the order book works, and one of those is the orders in the book are rejecting orders, sort of. So they're like acting as support and resistance. And the other way is they're acting like a magnet, like they want to get filled. These people have been in the book all day long. They're just resting here. You know, they're not trying to push orders down. They want to get filled. Okay. They want to get filled. They want to get their orders to be executed. And so the market makers, the big boys, a lot of times will drive the market up to them to fill their orders. And then from there, they might reverse it and send it back down. So that was the mindset on this one, is I was going for the long because I thought that the market was going to get driven up into these orders. And I took the execution right here. You can see that little triangle maybe, hopefully. and my profit or my stop loss is quite a ways away here. Let's see here. Aha, there we go. Okay, so there's my first target is down here. My second target's way up here because I was thinking that maybe we could drive through all three of these and then go up for the big boy up here and then call it a day, because at that point I would have earned enough money to get funded. And that was the whole goal of the day. And so we'll speed this up and so you can see it play out. So it comes up, hits that first target, and then I bring it up to break even again, and I'm just holding my breath, hoping that it doesn't come down and stop out my my stop again. And it got really close, but then it starts working up. Computer was about to die. Okay, so it starts working up, and you can see that it broke through that first level, and then it broke through the second level, and then it got hung up on the third level, and then I brought down, you can't see it, but I brought down my target and got out there, and then we were looking at 61 total ticks. We had 9 ticks on the first target, 52 ticks. Again, Bookmap is compact, so it doesn't really look like that, but we had 52 ticks on the second target. And so at that point, that was $610 plus the $140 that we had in gold. And now we're like, I don't know, like $150 away from getting funded. We're that close to getting funded. So I was a little disappointed that I had to get out there, but for whatever reason at the time, I felt like that we were going to get hung up on that last load of liquidity and not make it up to my original profit target. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And so it was a good thing I basically got out at the very top. All right, now stick with me. Let's go with the last one. Let's go 1131 over on gold. So we'll go back over here. Where are we at? We're at 911. So we got a ways to go. So we're going to speed this up as quick as we can. We got to scoot all the way up to 1131. Now, really what happened here is I was pretty excited, as you can imagine, about making that big target, okay, about getting those 61 ticks. And I'm kind of sitting back at this point because I'm like, I made a lot of money. I don't know if I should just wait till tomorrow to do this. I don't want to try to force a trade just to get funded. You know, stuff starts going through your mind once money's on the table, and money was right there sitting in front of me, you know, just begging for me. And then your mindset changes. And because I was aware that my mindset changed, I kind of sat back a little bit, and I was just waiting for my next setup. So in gold, it's the same situation. We've got heavier liquidity up top. My bias was long at this point for various reasons, and I'm going for the upward liquidity. And I mean, gold actually, it's not various reasons. Gold had been a superstar all day long. I mean, it was just a freight train to the top side, and I was just taking my bet that it wasn't done yet. So let's speed this up, because I take a quick one here. I get just a quick 12 tick scalp, and then my second target doesn't get hit. I actually get stopped out for a 1 tick loss on the second one. So I ended up with 11 ticks, and then I'm like $50 away from getting funded. And so that was fun. Let's see here. There it is. I'm in, little triangle in, comes up, taps me, and then comes down, immediately taps me out. And so we got, again, maybe a little bit lucky with where we entered and what happened, but that's fine. And then the next one is 1159. That's the last trade, the final trade, the funding trade, where I only need, you know, 50, 60 bucks. Maybe, I think it was more like 100, because I got to make up for the commissions right? So you got to make up for the amount of commissions that you're paying. So we ended up with 9 and 7 ticks on this very last trade, but my bias was still up. Even though it came back and got me, I was like, surely we're going to go up and test this stuff and try to fill these guys that have been waiting here to get filled. So I was pretty sure of that. Let's get to the end here. We got to get to 11:59. We're at 11:53. 54, 6, 7, 8. We'll slow it down a little bit for the final coup de grace. There it is. I'm in. And as you can see, my profit, or my both my targets are really close because I was pretty positive. I actually moved that one up. I think I might move it back down. I can't remember. Yeah. Okay. So we hit it up, hitting both of those. And then as you can see, it does go up and fulfill my my theory that we would come up to test these areas, and it actually goes up more just for fun. That looks like that's where I stopped the tape, but I think it went up all the way through the rest of these. So that's kind of how Bookmap works. Once you get the feel of the order flow, you've got to decide, hey, are these guys wanting to get filled and they're going to push price up into them? Or are they there trying to push price away from them? Like, you know, they put orders in to try to drive price away. It's kind of like magnets. Some magnets attract, some reject. You got to figure out which side of the coin that you're going to be on. But, I mean, Bookmap, it's just a major, major help in confirming your biases and determining where you want to get in. It's the only reason I believe why I've been able to get funded here. So that's it. Hope I didn't keep you boys too long. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment below, and don't forget to like the video. All right, guys? All right, peace out.